Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. This time we're going to be tackling self-sabotage.
Ooh, self-sabotage.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at Brianna Wiest's book, The Mountain Is You.
Okay.
And this is a book that one of our listeners actually suggested.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so someone out there is ready to figure out,
How to stop.
why they're getting in their own way and how to stop it.
Yeah, it's funny because the book starts off by saying that self-sabotage actually isn't self-hatred.
Okay. So it's not like we're punishing ourselves because we secretly think we deserve it or something.
Right. It's actually more about these underlying needs.
Okay.
These kind of hidden needs that are driving our actions.
So is it like a weird form of self-protection?
Yeah, exactly. Like our subconscious is trying to protect us
From
potential discomfort or pain.
That makes sense. I know I've definitely eaten a ton of junk food after a really stressful day.
Yeah.
Even when I was trying to eat healthy, logically, the junk food wasn't going to fix the problem.
Right. And it felt good in the moment.
It did feel good in the moment, yeah.
And that's exactly it. In that moment, maybe your subconscious was trying to protect you from actually dealing with those emotions.
Okay.
The pizza or whatever it was a distraction.
Okay, so it's like a Band-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. But the real question is, what deeper fear or insecurity was it kind of masking?
So how do we even figure out what those deeper fears are? Where do we even begin with that?
Well, Wyeth suggests that we start by looking at the root causes.
Okay.
And a big one is fear.
Oh, yeah. Fear of success, fear of failure.
Totally.
Fear of the unknown, all that stuff.
Yeah, and the book actually gives a really interesting example.
Okay.
About how childhood experiences can shape these fears.
Okay.
Let's say you grew up hearing your parents always criticizing wealthy people.
Oh, yeah?
So you might start to subconsciously associate money with, guilt or negativity.
Even if you consciously want to be successful.
Yeah, even if you're I want to be rich.
Yeah.
That early programming can create an internal conflict.
So it's like your mind is working against itself.
Right. It's you want the touchdown, but you're also terrified of what happens after you score.
Okay, so first we have to just become aware of these patterns that are happening.
Exactly.
And the book actually talks about a few common ones.
Yeah.
One of them is uprooting.
Uprooting. Oh, yeah. That constant need for a fresh start.
So when you switch jobs over and over again because of a difficult boss, instead of trying to work it out.
Yeah. Or you move to a new city every couple of years.
Because you think it'll solve all your problems.
Exactly. It's like hitting the reset button instead of actually confronting the issue.
Right. So you're avoiding dealing with it head on.
Exactly. And often that stems from a fear of conflict.
Okay.
Or a deep-seated need to avoid uncomfortable situations.
It just feels easier to run away.
Way easier. It's new city, new me. No problems here.
Yeah. And another pattern is perfectionism.
Ooh, perfectionism.
This one is definitely something I struggle with.
Yeah, it's that constant striving for flawlessness. But the funny thing is, that can actually lead to never finishing anything.
Because if you never finish, then you can't fail.
Exactly. Perfectionism becomes like a shield against judgment or criticism.
And it's so paralyzing.
Mm-hmm.
You end up spending way more time worrying about doing something perfectly than actually doing it at all.
And that's the self-sabotage in action. The desire's there, but that fear holds you back.
Okay, so we've got uprooting and perfectionism, and then there's the busyness trap.
Yes. Always running around. Juggling a million things.
But are we actually being productive?
Or are we just avoiding something deeper?
It's like building a wall of to-do lists.
Totally.
To protect yourself from actually having to sit with your own thoughts and feelings.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to look beyond those surface behaviors and try to understand the underlying emotional landscape.
Wiest talks a lot about understanding our emotions in the book.
Yeah.
But it's not about controlling them right.
Right. It's more about learning how to interpret them. So she actually encourages us to reframe those negative emotions.
But when you're feeling jealous of someone's success.
Yeah. Instead of letting that jealousy eat you alive, ask yourself, what is it about their achievement that I admire? What does that tell me about what I actually want?
Okay, so it's like using those emotions as a compass to figure out what we really want.
Totally. And that ties into the importance of recognizing the difference between controlling our emotions and suppressing them.
Okay.
When we try to suppress our feelings, they just kind of fester.
Oh, yeah.
And they come out in these unhealthy ways.
It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. going to pop up eventually.
Exactly. So instead of trying to fight our emotions, we need to acknowledge them, understand them, and then choose how we want to respond.
So Weiss talks about making these small, consistent changes.
Yeah.
It's not like an overnight transformation.
Right.
It's these little micro shifts.
Yeah, and she uses this great analogy of a penny doubling in value every single day.
Oh, wow.
At first, the gains seem tiny, but over time, with consistency, it compounds into something really significant.
So it's like building momentum.
Exactly. Those small steps create a ripple effect that eventually leads to bigger breakthroughs.
That's a great way to put it. And it's way less daunting than trying to change everything all at once.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And this reminds me of something that Ryan Holiday talks about in The Obstacle is the Way.
Okay.
He's all about the power of building small, positive habits.
Absolutely.
And how it's those daily actions, even the tiny ones that create lasting change.
And that connects really well with this idea of being present.
Okay.
Weiss, along with a lot of mindfulness experts, talk about how chasing happiness can actually make us unhappier.
Real?
Yeah, because it creates this like conditional joy.
So it's like, if only I had this job, this relationship, this amount of money, then I'd be happy.
Exactly. It's like putting your happiness on hold.
Waiting for the perfect circumstances to magically appear.
Exactly. And that just keeps you stuck in this cycle of striving and dissatisfaction.
So instead of chasing happiness, what should we be doing?
She encourages us to focus on cultivating presence.
Being present in the moment.
Yeah. Appreciating what is instead of constantly yearning for what could be.
Okay. So it's not that we can't have goals or aspirations.
Yeah.
It's about finding joy in the journey itself.
Exactly. That's a really important distinction.
Yeah.
And that actually leads us to another key point from the book.
Okay.
The importance of having these guiding principles for your life.
Like a personal set of rules.
Kind of. It's about figuring out what truly matters to you, your core values.
Okay.
And then creating like a personal constitution that guides your decisions.
So it's like having a North Star to navigate by.
Exactly. It helps you move beyond those surface level desires.
And helps you create a life that's actually aligned with your true self.
That's it.
This makes me think about like our true purpose. What are we here to do?
It's a big question. But Weiss has a really refreshing take on it.
Okay, I'm listening.
She says it's not about finding some grand, predetermined destiny. It's more about figuring out where your skills, your interests, and the needs of the world intersect.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where you can make a real impact.
Exactly. She encourages us to get really specific about it.
Okay.
Like, imagine your ideal daily routine. What would a day look like where you're truly living your purpose?
So really get down into the details of what a fulfilling life actually looks and feels like.
Yeah. And to help us get there, she asks this really thought-provoking question.
Hit me with it.
If social media didn't exist, what would you do with your life?
Whoa.
It's about stripping away that need for external validation.
And getting to the core of what truly matters to us.
Exactly.
It's about tuning out all the noise and listening to that inner compass that's guiding us towards our authentic path.
That's the key. And you know what? We're actually going to pick up on this idea of finding our true purpose after a quick break.
Okay, sounds good. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. So we were just talking about finding our true purpose.
Yeah, and how social media can sometimes distract us from that.
Yeah, right. It can make us focus on what other people think instead of what really matters to us.
So how do we cut through all that noise and figure out what we're really meant to do?
Well, one thing that Weiss talks about is the importance of understanding our emotions. That's not about controlling them, right? It's about learning to interpret them.
So it's not about trying to force ourselves to feel happy all the time.
No. It's more about understanding why we feel the way we do.
And what those feelings are trying to tell us.
Exactly. Like, let's say you're feeling really anxious about a big presentation at work.
Okay.
Instead of just trying to ignore that anxiety.
Which never works, by the way.
It never does. Ask yourself, what is this anxiety trying to tell me? Maybe it's a sign that you need to prepare more.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's highlighting some deeper insecurity about public speaking.
Okay, so it's like our emotions are giving us clues.
Yeah, they're like little messengers.
Trying to point us in the right direction.
Exactly. And once we understand the message, we can start to figure out how to respond in a healthy way.
So how do we get better at listening to those messengers?
Well, one thing that Weiss recommends is practicing mindfulness.
Okay.
Which basically means paying attention to the present moment without judgment.
So it's about noticing our thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them.
Yeah, it's like being a curious observer of your own inner experience.
And that can be really helpful in understanding our emotional patterns.
Exactly. Like maybe you notice that you always get really stressed out before big deadlines.
Okay. Yeah, I can relate to that.
Once you're aware of that pattern, you can start to develop strategies for managing that stress.
Like taking breaks.
Yeah, or delegating tasks.
Or even just being more realistic about what you can actually accomplish.
Exactly. It's about being proactive instead of reactive.
So mindfulness is like a superpower for self-awareness.
It totally is. And it can really help us in breaking free from those self-sabotaging patterns.
Now, another thing that we used to emphasize is the importance of setting boundaries.
Ooh, boundaries. Those are so important.
They are. But they can be really hard to set sometimes.
They can, especially if you're a people pleaser.
Yeah. Like you don't want to let anyone down.
But here's the thing. Saying yes to everyone else often means saying no to yourself.
And that's where the self-sabotage comes in.
Exactly. So it's important to learn how to set healthy boundaries.
Both in our personal and professional lives.
Yeah. Like learning to say no to requests that drain your energy or don't align with your values.
And that can feel really uncomfortable at first.
It can. But it gets easier with practice.
And it's so worth it. When you set boundaries, you're basically saying, I respect myself enough to protect my time and energy.
And when you respect yourself, other people will respect you too.
This makes me think about something else Wayas talks about. The importance of self-care.
Ah, yes, self-care. It's not just about bubble baths and face masks.
Yeah, it's about making choices that nourish your mind, body, and soul.
And it's different for everyone, right?
Yeah. Like for some people, it might be spending time in nature or reading a good book.
Or maybe it's going for a run or listening to music.
It's about finding what fills you up.
Exactly. And making time for those things even when you're busy.
Self-care is an act of self-love.
It totally is. And when you love yourself, you're less likely to sabotage yourself.
Because you're treating yourself with kindness and compassion.
Exactly. You're giving yourself what you need to thrive.
And you're setting a good example for the people around you.
It's like a ripple effect of positivity.
Okay, so we've talked about mindfulness, setting boundaries, self-care.
Yeah.
What else can we do to overcome self-sabotage?
Well, Wayas also emphasizes the importance of building a strong support system.
Okay. So surrounding yourself with people who believe in you.
Yeah. People who lift you up and encourage you to pursue your goals.
And who will call you out when you're starting to sabotage yourself.
Right. Having that accountability can be really helpful.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders in your corner.
Exactly. They're there to celebrate your wins.
And to help you get back on track when you stumble.
And speaking of stumbling, Wayas reminds us that failure is a part of the process.
It is. But we tend to be so afraid of it.
Yeah. We're conditioned to think of failure as a bad thing.
But it's actually an opportunity to learn and grow.
Exactly. Think of it as a stepping stone to success.
Like Thomas Edison said, I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work.
That's a great quote. And it highlights how important it is to have a growth mindset.
So instead of seeing challenges as setbacks, we see them as opportunities to learn and improve.
Exactly. It's about embracing the journey.
And trusting that even when things get tough, we have the strength and resilience to overcome them.
We do. And you know what? We're going to dive even deeper into this idea of resilience in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, sounds good. Stay tuned. You know, it's funny because as we've been talking about all these strategies, it's clear this isn't about reaching like a perfect state where we never self-sabotage again.
Right. It's more about becoming better at navigating our own inner landscapes.
Exactly. And Weiss talks about how powerful people are often the ones who are willing to be disliked.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it sounds kind of harsh.
It does.
But I think I get what she means.
Yeah.
Like it's about having the courage to stand up for what you believe in.
Yeah.
Even if it means you're not going to be the most popular person in the room.
Exactly. It goes back to that authenticity over approval thing.
So true.
Yeah.
And that makes me think about emotional validation.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before.
We have.
But it's not just about getting it from other people.
Right.
It's about learning to validate ourselves.
That's such a key point. We often look for external validation.
Yeah.
Because we haven't really learned to validate ourselves.
It's like we need someone else to tell us that our feelings are okay.
Yeah.
When really we have the power to do that for ourselves.
Exactly. And when we can validate our own emotions, we're not so afraid of them anymore.
Right. It's like we can actually experience them without being totally controlled by them.
And we can use them as information.
Yeah.
Like guideposts on our journey.
It's like that traffic jam analogy again.
Oh, yeah.
We can't control the traffic.
Nope.
But we can control how we react to it.
Exactly. We always have a choice.
And learning to make those choices,
yeah,
that's a big part of moving from self-sabotage to self-leadership.
It is. It's about recognizing those patterns.
Yeah.
And then making a conscious decision to respond differently.
And it's a process, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are going to be times when you slip back into old habits.
Yeah, for sure.
But the key is to just notice it.
Okay.
Acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And then gently guide yourself back on course.
It's about progress, not perfection.
I love that. And you know what else Waste talks about?
What's that?
Setting goals that actually support our growth.
So not just any goals.
No. Goals that are aligned with our values.
With our passions.
Exactly. With what we truly desire.
And she asks that great question, what would my most powerful self do today?
It's about tapping into that wiser version of ourselves.
And letting their guidance inform our actions.
I love that idea. And you know, a big part of that is being willing to push ourselves outside of our comfort zones.
Because that's where the growth happens, right?
Totally. It's like a muscle. We have to challenge it in order to make it stronger.
And that's true for our minds and our emotions, too.
Absolutely.
I want to go back to something that Wiest said that really stuck with me.
Okay.
She said, the truth is that you have nobody to prove wrong but yourself.
Oh, that's a good one.
Isn't it? It's like this permission slip to let go of trying to please everyone else.
Yeah.
And just focus on living a life that feels true to you.
So powerful. It's about embracing your own unique journey.
With all its ups and downs.
And striving to become the best version of yourself.
That's what it's all about. And on that note, we want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question from the book.
Okay.
If social media didn't exist, what would you do with your life?
Ooh, that's a deep one.
It is. Let that question guide you as you continue on your own journey of self-discovery and growth.
And hey, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into The Mountain Is You.
We hope you found it helpful. We'll see you next time.